socials. There we go. And we're live. 6 o'clock on the nose. Hi, Kerry. You're very...
Hello, everybody. Evening all.
You kind of always want a little hello to come back out of the computer.
Sunday. We are now officially proper in July.
Very much so, yeah. 5 days in.
It's the middle of Wimbledon.
Oh.
I know. There's some dodgy weather for Wimbledon last week, I think.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
And we've got a very sort of needy dog today. Good evening, everybody. This is Pam, Finn, and Jude from Hannibal Brown, broadcasting Sunday evening, 6 o'clock.
Live from the dining table this evening.
Live from the dining table with a dog who's like very keen on his new little treats.
Desperate for them. So don't mind if I do.
Don't mind if I do. What's all that about then?
It seems that we've done so many countries and different types of wine. We talked about so many different things that it seemed only right to do a little nod to Portugal.
Absolutely.
It being such an important country.
Poor old Portugal's in a bit of a lockdown at the moment.
True.
It's not on the destinations at the moment, but I'm sure it will be. And we'll talk about that actually, because anybody who hasn't been to Portugal, or in particular the wine and port regions, it is a bit of a destination. So we'll come back to that, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
Finn McCall, what would you like to say this evening?
Finn is trying to get attention. So as always, everyone, lovely to have you here. This is the last of our summer Sunday sessions.
Well, we take the summer pause.
The summer Sunday pause.
Sunday pause.
The Thursdays will remain for sure. But
which basically means that I get to spend a bit more time on the tennis court on the Sunday afternoon.
Exactly, and planting things or pruning things or whatever else.
I did get a little bit burnt this afternoon, so if I'm looking a bit little rougey rouge, then that wind and sunshine is evil. Actually,
great combination.
Very good for the Great British growing season, though.
Indeed,
yep.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But I think it's Sunday at 6 o'clock. We should really just pour a little.
Let's crack on.
Glass.
Let's crack on. So, Portugal. Should we just like tap on the reason why we chose this wine? And I'd love to hear people's pronunciations of this. Obviously, it spells Ripanco, but actually, what is the true Portuguese? Come on, go for it.
This always makes us laugh because we have been to Portugal recently and also Brazil, with two Portuguese-speaking countries.
It sounds terribly Russian.
And you look at your phrases or whatever you want to say, and then you get an audio version, and you just think, how could that be that?
Yeah.
So we did. I said just now, I bet it's not even pronounced Ripanco. I know that there's an accent on the C, so I looked it up, and the first Google option that came up pronounced it Repanso. So it's impossible. It's very difficult. But the R is often a H. So
yeah,
I think we'll go with Ripanco.
Let's go Ripanco. So much easier.
Sounds a bit Del Boy now, but we'll go with it.
Good evening, Clarky. Good evening, Luke. Hello, Claire from Wales, I believe. Evening, Bob. Lovely to see you all. As we said, we're going to take a little pause over the summer on Sunday evening. So this is what are we calling it?
The last of the summer Sundays.
The last of the summer Sundays.
For now.
For now. But we will be back.
Yeah, exactly. Not the last of the summer wine. There's plenty more where that came from.
But the Thursdays continue.
Thursdays continue.
So this coming Thursday is 7 o'clock. Don't be late.
Yeah, Rioja around the clock.
Rioja around the clock.
So all about Rioja. Yeah, so we've got a white Rioja, very traditional style white Rioja, which we just love. It's super popular. And the red is our Reserva Rioja 2015. Both fantastic. Both go brilliantly with cheese. I might put a couple of cheesy suggestions up as canapé recipes, but otherwise just get your cheese board, really. But back to Portugal. I'm going to pop a little map up. As we know now, I like to have my maps.
Be quiet, Finn, for a second.
So Portugal, a long, thin country on the edge of Spain, basically, in a nutshell. This Ripanco that we're tasting is from the Alentejo region, which is the largest landmass region in Portugal. In fact, it covers a third of the country. It's that big area.
So it's kind of that sort of light pinky bit. So if you can spot Lisbon, also known as Lisboa, It's kind of inland and south. That's the area that we're talking about, which I can't
So it's the
remember what
large
it
part of the
says.
south of Portugal with the
Yeah.
Algarve underneath it being a strip across the bottom, basically.
Bear in mind, it's a pretty small country, though.
That's true.
But they are actually. This is an interesting point in actual fact.
Let me remove the map whilst you make it.
Even whilst it's the smallest country, it was the first country to have a DOC or sort of Appellation Contrôlée status, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so it was about 100 years before Bordeaux classified all their vineyard area.
Which was 1855. You all know that because you listen to Bordeaux. So this was 1755 odd.
Thereabouts, thereabouts. So, really ahead of the game. But the reason they did it was because there was a lot of substandard port being shipped out to Britain as much as anywhere.
Yeah.
So they said, right, we've got to do something about this and put in a few checks and controls.
Yeah.
So they classified all of the vineyards and made a few statements as to what you have to do in order to call your wine a port, which was the popular.
But there is a reason why the British were actually driving the Portuguese wine port industry, wasn't it?
So historically, so here's a little bit of history because
here we go. Jude's got the history lesson for this evening.
It is very interesting. Yeah.
Sit back, relax, enjoy.
Cheers, everybody. Take a 2-minute nap. But it is interesting because it has got a really, really long history. But the date of note when the first real trade alleyways between Britain and Portugal opened was back in the 1300s. Okay, so
what did we call them now? What's Boris calling them?
Oh, I think that's more for holidays, but it's a air bridge.
Air bridge. Air bridge. Similar thing, I suppose, like 300 years ago.
And with no virus involved. So King John I of Portugal married Philippa of Lancaster. Yeah. And that marriage basically created a diplomatic alliance between the two countries and opened up this trade bridge between the two. And definitely gave Portugal a leg up above France and their wines, but also the Brits developed a love for port. And I guess it's the sweetness back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was all about sweet wines really that long ago. And so began a wonderful relationship between Britain and Portugal and
absolutely
a long history of drinking port.
And we can just pop in there, in actual fact, Hannibal of Hannibal Brown fame or notoriety, whichever way you want to look at it. But Hannibal, they go back quite a long time. But Hannibal, great grandfather and great grandfather were working. They were merchant naval officers. Mm-hmm. So they would have been at that time kind of responsible for all this sort of like trading between Portugal, Spain, France, and what have you, and sort of shipping. Mm-hmm. Various stuff, but an awful lot of wine because the British loved it, particularly the port.
There you go. So Hannibal over the centuries has always been involved in getting the good stuff to your door.
Yeah. He got washed overboard, actually, one of them.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's another story.
Did he survive?
No.
Oh, that's the end of that.
Nor did his cousin.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's
all Pam's family history in a nutshell. So the Douro Valley was classified and all kind of smartened up nicely. A good time before the French, but then Portugal have had a couple of nightmares.
Yeah,
I mean, we all know about the bug back in the 1850s, was it?
Yeah, now you all know how to perfectly spell it. I know that.
Yeah, so this was it
begins with F,
but because the root gnawing nasty that wiped out vines across the whole world. But prior to that, there was another issue that again came over from the Americas, a bit like phylloxera, in case you were scrabbling for words. And how do you pronounce it again? Oidium.
I mean, it's a pretty common, nasty little thing that goes on in any farming, really. But actually, it really took grip, didn't it? Just before the phylloxera hit Portugal, and so and then of course, how did they overcome it? Well, they use that lovely little thing that we all love to hate, sulfur.
Even back in the 1800s.
We love sulfites, we really do.
But it did, so that was the first real occurrence of this oidium en masse, and it really did wipe out a lot of Portugal's vineyards. This was in 1845. 25 years later, once it had all been re-established, phylloxera came along and wiped it out again. So it was pretty torrid. Yeah. They remained on the port mission.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really till Portugal joined the EU in the late 80s, that subsidies were put back into the wineries and the wine growers. Infrastructure was put in place, and then the industry grew, and it was
which is really the point where Portugal realised that it wasn't sustainable just to continue just producing port wine. They actually had to start thinking about producing wine. And so wine itself is sort of relatively recent. I mean, bear in mind that port is a fortification, so it's wine that has alcohol added to it to get it up to 17-18%. It was incredibly popular, and you still get fantastic vintage ports going back to the 1920s, 1930s, what have you. But the market has essentially kind of like, well, it hasn't dried up, but it's tricky because it's a big ask to ask people to drink bucket loads of sort of 17-18% wine.
And we've all had too much port before, and it's disastrous.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good place to go. So mid 80s, really, sort of the wine trade really started beginning to not so much replace, but sit alongside the port production. And so a lot of the wines still come from the port area, although
the Douro
Valley, although this doesn't. This comes from sort of like, I don't know,
further south,
a couple of hours east of Lisbon. But let's talk about how this is made. And Ripanco, what does it mean? Ripançu, because it means something. It means something. And Jude's going to show you.
I am actually. Yeah,
video.
I'm hoping to show you a bit of a vid, because I know Luke said he's just had a sip of the Ripanco or Ripançu.
Yeah.
And they love it. And actually, what's so nice about this wine is that it's lovely, soft and fruity.
It's soft. There's a reason for that, and we're going to show you what it is.
So
Hilary and Simon will just explain it through to you.
But in a nutshell, it's all about the Ripanco is the process used to within the winemaking process, and it's all about de-stemming the grapes on wooden slats. Now, for those of you who have tuned in on YouTube or Facebook, hopefully you'll be able to see a video in just a moment. Basically, I'm just playing a YouTube video through the website, streaming the YouTube video from the producer's website. Hang on a minute. That's not how I'm doing it. Let's just pause that for a minute.
Let's go back.
Go back. Bear with me a minute, viewers. Here we go. Right. This is the one.
Should we just get back to the beginning?
Yeah. So, Ripanco.
Okay, here we go. The story of Ripanco.
So, as you can see, they're treading the grapes. Very important. Use your feet. Cheap labour. Then they pour the grapes out onto these wooden slatted, almost like a washing, what do you call them? Board.
Yeah, washboard.
And then they have to they're pushing the grapes to and fro over these slats, which is squeezing them nearly, but retaining all of the stems. And
no, essentially what they're doing, is they're taking the juice away from all the nasty sort of green tannins that you get in the pips and the stalks and the skins. So once that's all been taken out, all they're doing is concentrating just on the juice. So you're not getting sort of nasty sort of harshness from tannins or greenness or whatever. And you just end up with this kind of like really nice, smooth, fruit orientated wine. And that is Ripanco. They've been doing it since like Roman times. It's one of the oldest methods of making wine. It's pretty disgusting, I have to say.
Not the wine, just the method.
And in fact, do you want to have a...
Sorry, I've just got something else randomly playing. Let's just stop that. There we go, yeah.
Shall we just show them a little bit of winemaking in Portugal, which is done to this day, and yours truly has actually experienced this and been in one of these.
Okay, so this is how do you pronounce it?
This is a lagar.
Lagar.
So this is the traditional way of treading grapes, and essentially you're standing up, as you can see, right, almost up to your thighs in grapes, still on their skins, still on their stalks and what have you, and you have to stamp them, and you basically walk up and down in these lines, up one way and back the other way, and you do this for about 7 hours. And it's pretty hard on the feet, to be honest. So I did it once, and it was quite enough for me, in actual fact, with my little soft tennis playing feet. But these guys, they know how to do it. They sing, they laugh, they just enjoy the experience.
It's like a festival.
Yeah,
almost.
but also just one point, which is kind of quite funny. And I was trying to find a photograph, but I couldn't find one. Once you're in there treading that fruit, you're not allowed out until your shift is over. And so if you need to have a little sort of tinkle on the side, there are little sort of pee holes sort of like created in the cement on the sides, so that you can just like turn around, stand, you know, with your back to everybody else, and just, you know,
do your business and
do
go on
your
with
business.
Your work.
And then you just carry on. How do you wash your hands? Well, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen.
So cheers, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the wine.
So that is traditional winemaking in Portugal, and they still do this to this day. And a lot of the port is produced in that way, really, because resource is actually available, and it was relatively cheap for a time. So there wasn't any point in actually sort of mechanizing, because people needed jobs. And so they still do this. That's right, Finn. Yes, I know. Would you like to do that with your great big feet? Be quite good at it.
So yeah, I mean, really traditional. And equally in Portugal, the types of grape varieties that are grown there, an awful lot of them are indigenous. So you don't find very many of your noble grapes, you know, your Cabernets and your Merlots and your Shirazes. You're very much more Portuguese. So I wanted to ask you out there, can anybody name a Portuguese grape?
Yeah. And whilst you're thinking about a Portuguese grape, I'm just going to answer, there's a question here saying, will this age? Because it doesn't have the sort of the depth of the tannins and what have you. The producers suggest up to sort of 4 to 5 years. So it's not, you know, it's not a wine for massive aging, but it's, you know, there's enough going on in there. The fruit just sees it through. The fruit sees it through. They also recommend that you should drink it sort of between 16 and 18 degrees alcohol, temperature. But we were considering actually putting it in the fridge. Although having said that, you know, as the temperature goes up, anybody who's got a kind of a Eurocarve out there, they're often set to around about 16 to 18 degrees temperature.
Which is a nice temperature, because again, as we said, the rule of thumb for chilling a red wine is don't do it if it's got dry tannins, basically.
That's right. But I think this can take a little bit of sort of like chilling, can't
I agree, yeah, because of that lovely soft fruitiness.
Yeah, but I think we're drinking ours probably around about, I don't know, it probably is around about 16, 17 degrees. It probably is.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
But don't be afraid. Bung it in the fridge if you fancy. Just take the edge off it, and I think that fruit will just continue to lift and lift and lift. And it's lovely. And you get these sort of flavors of sort of blueberries and violets. The grape makeup, going back to Jude's question.
Here we go. Actually, yeah, well, let's not say anything. We've had one grape come through, which is Touriga Nacional, which is correct, Luke. Yeah. That is a classic.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult actually to name Portuguese grapes, because they're all fairly obscure.
Let alone get the right pronunciation.
Well, let's just forget about that. We'll go with the Del Boy approach. For example, I'll put one out there which no one's mentioned yet. Aragonese. Exactly.
Aragonese, also known as
Tempranillo from Spain. But they don't even have just one other name for Tempranillo in Portugal. They've got at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So depending on which region you are, they call it a different thing.
Yeah.
Which makes it a real minefield.
They also call it Tintororiz.
Or Roriz, maybe.
But Aragonese is what you will most notably see on the labels of red, or the back labels of red wine from Portugal. Aragonese. It is Tempranillo. And I read something recently, actually. Tempranillo is a derivative of tempra or something, which basically is alluding to the fact that it ripens early.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why they called it Tempranillo. But more of that on another day, because I need to read a bit further about it.
There's a high level, just to wet your whistle.
Yeah. So this has got about 30% of Aragonese or Tempranillo in it.
It has Touriga Nacional.
It does.
Trincadeira
is another well-known red grape variety from Portugal. Trincadeira. And the other one is
it Alicante Boucher?
Nope.
Oh.
It's Syrah.
Oh, there you go. I eat my words.
It's got something like 20% of Syrah in it. So these are all sort of like big, heavy, sort of heavy duty, great gun red wines that red grape varieties that give lots and lots of lovely flavour. But it is all in the Ripanco methodology of producing this, which is those poor guys, you know, doing the washing and poor calloused hands, I'm sure, like nightmare. So there's a few regions of note there are
in Portugal. Yeah. So we've mentioned well, let's go with Alentejo, which is the big area at the bottom, which covers a third of the landmass there.
Yeah.
It has to be said, quite a lot of wine is produced there, but really an awful lot of it is produced by just 6 cooperatives in the region, in the whole region. So that'll be a lot of grape growers.
It's a lot of grape growers
who are then taking their grapes.
Hundreds of grape growers. Yeah.
Taking their grapes to the cooperatives and then having their wine made.
Yeah.
Not saying it's a bad thing.
No.
You do get a lot more affordable. JM Jose Maria da Fonseca, the producer of this wine, they're not a cooperative, are they?
No, they are private, and they've been going for probably about a couple of 100 years. Their biggest export initially was, surprise, surprise, Brazil.
Oh, is that right?
That was their biggest export market. But then for the majority of Portuguese wine, it was being exported to Brazil. I mean, the population of Brazil is huge, and they really didn't have the capacity or wherewithal to produce wine and back in the day.
Yeah, although they're doing it now.
They do now.
Yes, another one from Luke was Alvarinho, correct, also known as Alvarinho in Spain, which is a white wine, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's moving on to the area of Vinho Verde, which we'll talk about, or Vinho Veg. I can't remember exactly how the guys pronounce it. It's really funny.
Vinho Veg.
There's a lot more jizz than you think there should be. Then Douro, the Douro Valley.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of the Douro Valley because I've got a picture of all of these because it really is interesting. Within Portugal, what's so interesting is how the regions vary so much. So this is a picture of the Fonseca vineyards of this producer. So this is in a big, open, relatively flat area with a few hillsides.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of bigger volume. Flat, third of Portugal. And then if you move to, let's go to the Douro Valley, shall we? So
there
this
you had
is
it right at the top there.
There you
There's
go.
a beauty. Yeah.
So the Douro Valley is steep.
Yeah.
Steep valley.
Incredibly steep.
With the Douro River running down the middle.
Yeah.
And lovely terraced vineyards, like rice paddies almost.
Yeah. Can you get the other picture up? Just as we just talk a little bit about the Douro. So the Douro is the biggest river in Portugal, and it runs. Yeah, no, that one there. Yeah, that's it.
Vinho Veg. That's Vinho Veg.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks the same. It looks the same.
This one back.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. But there's the Douro, and it runs all the way from the west coast of Portugal, all the way through Portugal and into Spain. And as it goes further and further into Spain, it gets drier and drier and drier and more arid. But this area here is probably sort of like about half an hour up in a little train from what's it called? Porto,
okay, from
the
coast.
city of Porto, the city of Porto. And as you see that river now, it's beautifully lake-like. You can sort of water ski in it. You can go there on holidays. You can admire the fantastic views of all these beautiful vineyards on incredibly steep slopes, which is all hand harvested because you can't get tractors up there. It's crazy. It's crazy steep. But imagine back in the day, that river is now dammed, and that's why you can play your, summer sports on it. But back in the day, it wasn't dammed, and it was a torrential, really fast moving river. And so in order to get the wine down from these vineyards, the wine or the port was actually sort of put in barrels, and it was transferred in boats,
which I should just get you a picture of the boats because they're very unique and historic, and they still have them around on the water. Bear with me just a tick. So here we go.
There we go. And that is a Rabello. And that is exactly how all these little all port was transferred back in sort of the 1800s and what have you, up until quite recently, because I think the Douro was only dammed in sort of the 1960s or maybe even 1970s. I might be wrong about that. But it was, if you ever get the opportunity to go to Harrods, we used to show a video an ancient old black and white video of these Robello, basically transit boats, I suppose, transferring barrels of port out of the Douro all the way to the west coast and up towards England. And it was all in these port barrels, and the number of barrels that used to be lost to basically, torrential water, because they're just not, I mean, they're flat bottom, but they're not, you can see
boats.
them stacked up, and they're driven by sails. So I wonder whether actually at some point I can get hold of that old video. If I can, I will put it on the Hannibal Brown website. But it is a fascinating bit of old footage, and it just gives you sort of understanding of how, to what extremes they used to go to transfer the barrels. But those barrels were being transferred up into London, down the Thames, and that's where the bottling took place.
So bulk shipped, but
already
in a good
bulk
way.
shipped. Yeah.
But because the wines are fortified, they travel.
Oh yeah.
So,
if they made it, otherwise they're at the bottom of the Douro.
Or someone's having a right old party around theirs with the extra barrel.
Yeah.
So really historic, famous wine producing region for port.
Yeah.
But also now certainly still wines.
Yeah.
Red wine particularly.
Yeah. The thing about Portuguese red wine, actually, it's kind of interesting because it can get a little bit expensive, and I don't really know why it gets so expensive. Why it's so expensive, but maybe it's just the Portuguese trying to make a good buck, or actually sort of like just trying to sort of sustain a premium position in the market. I think possibly it is. But the Ripanco is $13.95, and I think this is particularly good value. Because I suspect the majority of people would not even consider buying this because you wouldn't know what it was, and it does take tasting it to appreciate actually how lovely and soft and accessible it really is. There's no harshness to this because of the way it's made. So Ripanco is the Roman way of producing wine, and I quite like it.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've got someone who likes red wine, or who isn't sure about red wine because they're not keen on the dry tannins and they find it too serious, then a Ripanco method wine is your answer.
He doesn't need feeding, by the way, Michelle Clark. He's had enough food.
I'm gonna get them out of the way. Bless him. He's had a full-on day. There's a good boy.
So let's talk about Vinho Verde.
Okay, yeah. So let me get the map up again quickly.
Vinho Verde.
So
this is a hark back to the 1970s, 1980s.
We went recently to Portugal, right? Here's the map again. So Portugal, a long rectangle, essentially. Vinho Verde or Vinho Veg is top left-hand corner.
It's the green bit.
It's really good. Takes a lot of weather from the Atlantic.
Oh my God, it rains there. It really rains there.
Yeah, the region is called Vinho Verde. It's not the name of the grape or anything.
No.
And there's a green. The reason for the green is the weather. So we all know what that's like.
They often refer to it as Little Ireland, actually, because it is so wet.
Better wine than Ireland. So here is a little photo of Vinho Verde.
On a particularly sunny day.
On a sunny day without any rain. But again, banking onto the water, the other side is the Atlantic, and there is weather and hillsides and undulating Irishness.
Yes. Yeah, they are actually. I mean, it is quite sort of Irish in a kind of like a diddly way.
But with a bit more sunshine. With a little bit more sunshine. And the wine industry. So Vinho Verde got a bit of a bad name for itself.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't really know, actually. I mean, it was, Vinho Verde was one of those white wines that the Portuguese always raced to get onto the market at a very, very early moment, as early opportunity as possible. So literally pick the grapes, ferment it, bang it in the bottle, and off it goes.
So I wrote down actually because I didn't realize it was quite as quick as I thought.
I was doing 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months
so
after harvesting the grapes.
Exactly. So if you're harvesting in September, the wine could have been on the market sort of in November, December.
Unusual.
So it was a bit sort of bish bash bosh, a bit sort of rough around the edges. And there wasn't really too much thought went into it. It was literally a bit like the old Beaujolais Nouveau. Get it out there, get the money in the bank.
Yeah, but it's exactly the same principle, really,
exactly,
isn't it? Exactly. So Finn's trying to catch flies here, and I'm worried he's going to headbutt me because that is a head that can cause damage. There's a few comments just here, so I thought just to quickly take a moment to go through them before we carry on talking about the Vinho Verde.
Yeah.
Well, Kerry has controversially said the Portuguese charge the price the buyers are prepared to pay, which is possibly the answer for all trading all over the world. The Contras have been to Portugal once in '91. And
at that time, they seemed to specialize in cheap and nasty, except port, which is true because it was really still sort of in the formative years of actually doing that sort of colossal transformation from just purely producing port to actually saying, well, hang on, we are a wine producing nation, but it was always a bit low level. I mean, these days, there's some fantastic producers have put a huge amount of energy into producing very high quality wines. But it all goes really back to the way they treat their land. So a huge amount of effort has gone into the vineyards. And I mean, even those pictures that you've just seen, they are stunningly, really prepped, really well prepped vineyards. And the truth is in the pudding, really.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He's trying to catch a fly. No, absolutely. So you can see it's all beautifully manicured.
Yes. I used to call W breakfast wine.
VV, I think that is.
Okay, VV.
Breakfast wine.
Breakfast wine.
Well, so because the wines are produced really quickly and released quite early, you tend to get a wine which is lower in alcohol. So 8-9% easily.
Yeah.
And also because they're
very attractive actually.
And also these days you could market it as low calorie and everyone will go bonkers for it. But maybe we'll go down that route at some point. But yeah, so they'll also bottle it quite quickly. So often the fermentation maybe hadn't quite finished, and what you'd get is a little bit of the champagne effect that it sort of carbonates slightly in the bottle. So known to be lowish in alcohol, slightly sparkling.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun breakfast drink, hey Luke?
Yeah. No, I know. And in actual fact, they were almost before their time, and that's why it's actually coming back now. So if you go into our website and have a look at Afros, Afros is at HannibalBrand.com. Just put APHROS. That is a Vinho Verde, but not as it used to be known. But I thought it's great. Low alcohol. Fantastic, 9% alcohol. It's what everybody wants now. Decent flavour,
dry.
And a little bit of
mostly.
Spritz.
There is some sweet, but it was dry as well.
And a little bit of Spritz.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for, really? I think they were before their time.
Yeah, it's a lunchtime refreshing glass.
Or if somebody said breakfast, well, fair enough.
Yeah, each to their own. When you're on holiday, anyway, Rodney. So yeah, actually, there are 6 grapes which are particularly used in Vinho Verde. So it's a bit of a blend. Can be a bit of a blend.
Yeah.
So one of them's been mentioned already, which was Alvarinho.
Yeah. What are they, Finn? I can't remember.
I've written them down. I certainly knew one because the Afros is that grape. Do you remember?
No.
It's quite. They're so obscure Portuguese grapes.
I can't remember.
I'm not even going to ask. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask you to suggest, but you've got Loureiro.
Oh, Loureiro, yeah.
Alvarinho, Loureiro, Arinto, Azal, Avesso, and Tradajura.
Oh, yes.
I would have given you a big rosette if you'd managed to get all of those.
But Loureiro, spelled Loureira.
I think on the end, yeah.
Is sort of like a driving force in Vinho Verde. I really do think that have an opportunity, have a shot at our Afros because it is really lovely.
Yeah.
It's also organically produced and biodynamically.
Yes, it is.
Biodynamically farmed. So it's as natural as they come.
And I was going to say something else about Loureiro,
yes.
which as a grape variety is known in Portugal as a bit of like the Riesling of Portugal. So this variety that can be really expressive of where it's grown and when and maybe potentially age. You don't think about aging Vinho Verde, but with this grape variety, it does have the potential.
Yeah.
And has a kind of aromatic character to it. So it's a really nice wine. The Afros is lovely. We did trial a couple of classic Vinho Verdes, but we haven't found one that's really good enough because the Vinho Verde you drink at lunchtime in Portugal is not going to taste the same when you're sat in the rain at home with your prawn cocktail. So
maybe we should have a little look. Maybe we should have a little look if we can find some for the summer.
Yeah, okay. There's one really famous wine producing region in Portugal that we haven't mentioned, and it's maybe not attached to the mainland, but I wonder if anybody would like to hazard a guess.
Oh yes, come on, everybody.
We possibly would have touched upon it a few Sundays
definitely
ago.
Not attached to the mainland.
Well, no, I know. I'm just nudging people in the right way. So it is a Portuguese territory, which is very famous for producing wines, maybe especially of a slightly sweeter variety.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading these silly innuendo doing what a good use for Matthias Rosé, which is what drink it up with your chicken tikka. Is that what it is?
I think, or give it to someone, as Kerry said, which is
give it something
actually, because Matthias, there's a lot worse than Matthias.
Oh yeah,
right? There's a lot worse than Matthias. At least it's dry. And it's a fun-shaped bottle.
It's just a little bit like the old Blue Nun. It is as popular as it ever used to be. And it still comes in a beautiful little bottle.
Yeah, even miniatures and half bottles.
Good for beginners.
Stephen Amanda's
good for beginners because it's got a little bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Not great for your teeth, though. And
no.
Who wants to go to a dentist at the moment? Not me.
No,
hands
quite.
down.
And once you've been down the Provence Rosé route, you're probably not going to go back to Matthias. But, it's there for the taking if you wish.
Right, so let me Luke Portnow, he's been swatting again. You're not getting any apples for this, but he has actually successfully realised which island we're talking about, and it is, of course, Madeira.
Madeira, yes.
Madeira.
Which I must say, I always forget is Portuguese because it just seems very Spanish. Finn.
And what are they famous for?
Madeira.
Making Madeira. Another fortified wine.
Yes. So, again,
the Brits took again,
very
all transferred in barrels again up to the UK and bottled in the UK.
They like sweet, they like alcoholic. Let's make it somewhere else and send them even more.
Yeah. Incidentally, anybody who's obviously everybody knows London. If you imagine that these wines were coming up on those little boats, those Rebello boats, sailing up the Thames, and they would arrive just around about where Embankment Tube Station is. So Embankment Tube Station is literally on the river, just before you get to Charing Cross. Mm-hmm. And they would unload there, and underneath that area there's a very old wine bar called Gordon's Wine Bar.
Hold on, we always forget the name of that.
Just up from there, there used to be huge underground bottling lines, which was where pretty much all of the wine that was shipped in barrels used to come into London, and that's where it was bottled.
Bang in the heart of the West End.
Yeah, literally just off the Strand. Yeah, underneath the what's the name of the hotel?
On the Strand.
Yeah. What's the name?
The Savoy.
The Savoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Literally between that area, the Savoy and Embankment Tube Station, all underneath there used to be bottling lines.
Can you go and visit?
Do you know what? I think they were there for a long time, being totally disused, and I think possibly they've been turned into car parks now. I don't know. I will find out. I will see.
So sad.
Yeah.
I have a networking meeting that I go to or used to go to, which is at Davies Wine Bar at St James, and they are the other side of Trafalgar Square, but they still have big cellars, and it's all underground in the arches.
And it was being bottled there as well.
And you said they were
all along those arches. Yeah.
So it's still, there must be some really cool tours you can do. I guess Berry Brothers have got their thing going on.
Who said Berry Brothers?
I know. Well, everyone knows they exist. We have to mention them. We don't have cellars in Worcester Park, although we might have soon because our office looks like it's about to fall down.
To be fair, though, there are all over London. I used to work for Harrods, and even under Harrods, they had a bottling lines as well there. And up until very recently, so I'm talking about the 1970s or something like that, they were still bottling wine and not so much port, but certainly wine that was being shipped in barrels.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's really recent.
Fascinating stuff. You heard it all history. Here first, everybody.
So I've got a question.
Yes.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Question for everybody.
Yes.
Pay
attention.
Easier than name Portuguese grape varieties, which is really mean and impossible. What else is the Alentejo region, that big part of most of Portugal, known for producing?
Oh, yeah.
Let's put it out there.
Okay.
We'll leave it. Put your answers out there. Come on, you can guess. You can guess this.
Do you want to get the map up again?
Yes,
Just
we
to
shall.
remind them exactly the region that we were just talking about, which is pretty much bang central, just not very far east of Lisbon.
Yeah, and come on, people, let's get there ahead of Luke. What else?
Yeah.
What else is Alentejo, the big main area in the south of Portugal, known for producing?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And at this point, we should also point out that Madeira, the little island of Madeira, is not on that map, but it's pretty much due west of, it's further south than Lisbon. So it's probably
Marrakesh.
southwest of,
It's off Morocco, I think,
Yeah.
really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
I mean, it
It's
does
further
appear
down.
on this map, but that's not where it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so come on, what is Alentejo well known for producing?
Is that almost slanderous or libel? Can't remember which. My ex-brother-in-law used to like Matthias, and he's been dead for years. Oh, well, that's a nice cheery.
Sure. We'll move swiftly on from that. I suppose something else of note as well, and you know,
What are we going to eat with this?
Well, I think again, big fruitiness needs richness.
Yeah.
So I would always pull out my duck with the kind of hoisin sauce and eat them with lettuce. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
I think hard cheeses would go really well with it.
Well, I was just going to say, in actual, just to sort of in that sort of like porty style. Obviously, the Brits put Stilton directly as a perfect accompaniment to port wine, and I think actually, you know, Ripanco at 14% alcohol.
14, yeah.
So it's not, you know, it's not the
This up again.
It's not the lowest alcoholic wine, but it's certainly not port. But it has got that sort of real sort of extravagance of fruit, lovely fruit, and I think Blue Stilton would be. Delicious.
Lovely, yeah.
Stilton or Roquefort, my favourite.
Always going to be Roquefort.
Yeah.
Get the cheese board out and give it a go, I'd say.
Yeah. Here we go. Here come the answers.
Sarah White. I'm not going to say it just in case there's some more coming up. What's Finn up to? Finn, come on. He's chasing after the fly again.
Well, she's beaten him to it. Yippee! Well done, Sarah White.
Good job.
Yeah, of course, Portugal is known for them.
Portugal, known for specifically the Alentejo region, producing corks.
Yeah.
So the bark of the cork tree, which is taken off in large pieces, but one at a time, and then it grows back, and then they harvest it again. It's a farm, really, isn't it?
We should do a little cork talk.
We could do a cork.
We do a little cork talk.
Yeah, we've even got a cork log which someone donated us outside. So just a little quick reminder about next week. So we've got Rioja around the clock on Thursday.
Rioja around the clock.
Yeah, going to be a Rioja extravaganza with two really lovely wines, and a cheese board will do. But I will put a couple of recipes up because I've got in my mind something that will go really well with the white Rioja. Yeah. And it's going to be super simple. It will involve buying a pre-made puff pastry sheet. And
if in doubt, buy a pre-made puff pastry sheet.
If you need to do your shop this evening, pop that on it. And then I'll let you know the rest tomorrow. So that's Rioja. Then obviously Sunday we all have the evening off to go and enjoy whatever way you please. Have a beer maybe.
Yeah.
And then the following Thursday is our Greek night.
Oh, yes. Plate smashing. Do not forget, you've got to find something.
It's very much watch this space. Over the next couple of days, we'll have the wines totally confirmed.
Maybe we should run a little competition. Something revolving around a plate smash of some sort.
Watch
this space. We might come back to you on that one.
Trouble for that from other household members. But yes, no, it's a Greek night. It will be fun. You can order in the food. We'll deliver the food along with your wines if you're in the locality. Otherwise, we'll let you know what it is, and you can create your own food accompaniments.
Yeah.
And can we remember? Oh, the following week.
Da, da, da.
We wait with bated breath to confirm this.
Yeah.
But
it is confirmed.
It is confirmed.
Confirmed.
So we've got Ernst Lucen, a really, really famous and very established German winemaker who makes our Villa Wolf wines, but they are very much his entry-level point. And he's going to come and join us and talk about wines, Germany, his wines.
Ernst Lucen, he is world-renowned. He is, I think I've said this before, he's considered, one of the top winemakers in the world, not the country. And so please do listen in. It's going to be great. It's going to be really good fun in actual fact. So he is the following Thursday, which is Thursday the 23rd?
Yeah.
And then I think we've got something else in the diary, but you'll have to look on the website for that because we can't remember.
We'll let you know. But
Yeah.
lots coming up. And we might even introduce a couple of sessions where we grab something really special, which we maybe only got a couple of cases of.
Yeah.
And it will just be first come, first serve, and join us for a Zoom event of an hour or something. We'll see. But watch this space. Any special requests, as always, let us know. And we'll try and keep you informed as to what's coming up as soon as we can.
Yeah. So just a quick shout out again for the Ripanco. $13.95. I think it's a great Billy bargain, and I do think it's actually quite nice for summer drinking as well.
Yeah,
for people who like the lighter wines, but or sort of less tannic wines. This is good stuff. Afros, which is our white Vinho Verde, which is $16.75 from a lovely chap called Vasco Croft. Croft, as in Croft Port. And Fonte de Serrano, which is $11.45. However, that is out of stock at the moment, but have a little read about it, and before you know it, it'll be back in. Yeah,
so be patient with us with stock levels, because at the moment it's all over the place, but everything should get back into line soon.
We're struggling a little bit.
There's a few lines that we've had mad runs on, but
things are taking a wee while to come through at the moment.
But we have great alternatives to everything. So
we've got so many wines. We've got, there's no excuse.
So lovely that Tim and Michelle are loving the Ripanco. Really glad you like it. Something different, something nice and fruity, something soft for a Sunday evening. I think we should all go and get the cheese board out, sit in the sunshine for 5 minutes, and then put on a movie.
Let's do it. Okay, that's it. Nice to see you, everybody.
See you Thursday.
Share this with your friends.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers.
Bye-bye. I'll have a haircut the next time.